Up on Locked On Dodgers, the Gold Glove finalists. We'll talk about some Dodger. As promised yesterday, we'll talk about Justin Turner and the case for bringing him back on his $16 million team option. And then we will talk about a couple rumors going around on ESPN and other sites about what the Dodgers might do this offseason. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Dodger fans. This is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Or even better, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching and listening right now, and then you'll never miss a day because you know we're not going to. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snider. My co-host is Vince Samperio. We are doing a split episode today, so Vince will be with you for the second half. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And as promised yesterday, we mentioned at the end of yesterday's episode that kind of tying in with the things we talked about yesterday is the Dodgers' decision on Justin Turner. And so I'm going to talk about that right now. In the second segment, I'm going to talk about the Gold Glove finalists, and then Vince is going to come along and talk about a couple rumors about what the Dodgers might do this offseason over on ESPN.com for the most part. So Justin Turner, there is, I mean, the Dodgers have a team option worth $16 million on Justin Turner. If you remember, Turner came to the Dodgers before the 2014 season, and he's basically been outstanding ever since then. He's hit free agency twice, after 2016 and after 2020, and both times he re-signed with the Dodgers. Most recently, after 2020, he signed a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year team option, and that's where we're at now. He's played the first 2 years, and now it's time for the team option, which is $16 million if the Dodgers choose to bring him back. And over at Dodgers Nation, where I write, they put out a poll asking fans what they think. Should the Dodgers pick up Justin Turner's $16 million club option? Almost 10,000 votes, and 71% of the respondents said no. And, you know, it's kind of understandable why people are hesitant about it. For one thing, you know, there's a few factors I think that go into it. One of the big ones, I think, is it's only been a few days since the Dodgers got eliminated from the postseason. And I think right now, if you put up a poll saying, should the Dodgers fire their peanut vendors, everybody would say, yeah, fire the bums. Like, I think Dodger fans are frustrated right now. And Justin Turner definitely didn't help with that because he was lousy in the postseason. So I think fans are still feeling a little bit of recency bias as far as JT struggles in the postseason and just overall frustration with being eliminated from the postseason. Another thing that might be on people's minds is JT started really slowly this year. And, you know, you remember the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, we were like, oh no, Justin Turner got old. He can't hit anymore. And then he turned it on and he ended up having a solid season, but it was still his worst season of his career because, you know, 5 weeks into the season, he was batting 168 with a 469 OPS. He was just terrible. And he's going to be 38 next month. He's not young anymore. And so I think there's still some of those lingering doubts from that slow start. And maybe the biggest concern is JT was a postseason legend in his first several years with the Dodgers. In his first 73 postseason games as a Dodger, he batted 294 with a 905 OPS. Just outstanding. His first 73 postseason games. That goes up through last year's wild card game. Starting with the NLDS last year, though, 13 games across 3 series. The NLDS and NLCS last year and this year's NLDS. 13 games, JT's batted 116 with a 356 OPS over those 13 games. You know, he had that shin injury late in the regular season this year, fouled the ball off his shin, missed a few days. And, you know, that might have still been hobbling him, but even that kind of contributes to the concerns. Well, if he's too old to recover from fouling a ball off his shin, is he really a guy we want the Dodgers paying $16 million to? So I understand all of those things, but I feel like there's one important point that we're missing, which is this is Justin freaking Turner. Like Justin Turner, since he came to the Dodgers, he's been a team leader. He's been an icon in the LA community. He's a guy we can all be proud to root for. And the Dodgers basically print money. It's not our $16 million. The Dodgers aren't going to stop raising ticket prices because they didn't have to bring back JT. Dodgers have already raised ticket prices for next year. They're going to do it again the year after. They could slash their payroll by $100 million and they would still raise ticket prices because people are still willing to pay them. That's how it works. And so there's no actual effect on us. And the other concern would be if it keeps them from signing another player. The Dodgers have never let money during this regime have never let money be a reason they didn't sign somebody. When they didn't re-sign Zach Greinke, it was the years, not the money. When they didn't sign Bryce Harper, it was the years, not the money. And so this is $16 million for 1 year. That $16 million won't affect anything else. And so really we're just down to the roster spot. And, JT, he played less third base this year than he had in previous years, more DH. You have to assume if he does come back next year, would be even more DH and less third base. And, there are concerns about tying up the DH position with one guy most of the time. That's it's a legitimate concern. But this is Justin Turner. And the thing I care most about is the Dodgers winning, but there are some guys who you make room for on your roster. And the thing is, you can phantom IL a guy. If JT isn't good, if he's struggling, okay, hey JT, you're getting paid because we signed you this contract. You're going on the IL now. In fact, you're going on the 60-day IL so that we can use your 40-man roster spot, and let him play out the season as an injured de facto coach on the bench, whatever it is. There are those options. It's not hard to find a legitimate injury on a 38-year-old baseball player if they need to put him on the IL. So there's so many ways around the roster spot issue that really it just comes down to money. And in my mind, money should not be a reason that you don't bring back a franchise legend like Justin Turner. No, he's not going to the Hall of Fame, but neither did Steve Garvey. And I mean, there's fans of a certain age that are still heartbroken that Steve Garvey left the Dodgers. Steve Garvey never should have left the Dodgers. He should have finished his career with the Dodgers. He didn't. And Justin Turner is kind of in that Steve Garvey realm. And they should do the right thing by Justin Turner. Let him finish out his career and, join the coaching staff and whatever he wants to do, but he should be a Dodger for life. Those are my thoughts on Justin Turner. Bring back JT. And you know what? And maybe they want to negotiate. Maybe they say, hey, JT, we don't want to pay you $16 million. How about a 2-year contract for $18 million? That way JT gets an extra $2 million. The Dodgers get a lot lower average annual value for salary cap reasons, luxury tax. It's not an actual salary cap, but it basically is. There's things they could do, but the bottom line is they need to do whatever it takes to bring Justin Turner back because he belongs in Dodger blue. That's where I'm at. So I want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk about the Gold Glove finalists and some Dodgers who got made it as finalists, a couple who didn't, and a couple non-Dodgers that are worth talking about. So please keep it locked on Dodgers. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all betting, football, and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I am back. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. I've just got a little bit more for you, and then I will turn it over to Vince for the second half of this episode. The Gold Glove finalists were announced on Thursday. Finalists just means they already know who the winners are, and they add drama by telling you here are the guys who finished top 3 at each position in each league, so you can argue about it for a while until they actually announce it. I don't even know when that is, next month sometime. And a couple interesting ones from a Dodger standpoint. Tyler Anderson is a finalist at pitcher. I don't know how, like, I know some pitchers are good fielders for their position. I don't know how you really determine that. There's so few chances there. I don't know. But whatever it is, Tyler Anderson is a finalist. I know Greg Maddux won a crap load of them. Jim Cott won a crap load of Gold Gloves. So there must be something they can do. I don't have any idea if Tyler Anderson deserves to win over the other guys or not, because I don't know how to judge a pitcher's defense. But congratulations to Tyler Anderson on being a finalist. The only other Dodgers finalist was Mookie Betts in right field. And Mookie Betts is a finalist along with Dalton Varsho, who actually played more center field, I thought, but is a very good defensive outfielder, and Juan Soto. Juan Soto is not a good defensive outfielder. Juan Soto is the opposite of a good defensive outfielder. He is a very, very bad defensive outfielder. If you look at the 195 players who played at least 10 innings in right field this year, 195 of them, where does Juan Soto rank in runs above average? 195th out of 195. Where does he rank in outs above average? 195th out of 195. Negative 14 outs above average, or put another way, 14 outs below average. By far the most of any right fielder in baseball. Defensive runs saved, he's not as bad. He's not 195th out of 195. He is only 148th out of 195. Simply put, Juan Soto is a bad defensive outfielder. And some of those are like cumulative, and so maybe it doesn't tell the whole story. But if you go with UZR 150, which is basically a per game, so it's not fair to say, well, Juan Soto played every inning in right field, so of course, if he's not a good outfielder, he's going to have more opportunities to make bad plays or whatever. UZR 150 out of the 195. Juan Soto, I meant to pull this up before. He's not the worst. Anyway, he's middle of the pack. He's somewhere in the hundreds. I can't find him right now, but there it is. So he is 113th out of 195 in UZR 150. So, by some measures, Juan Soto is the worst outfielder in baseball. By other measures, he's just really bad. By no measure is he worthy of being a finalist, top 3 for the right field Gold Glove Award in the National League. It's ridiculous. And that brings up a good point about who votes on these. The 25% of the vote is sabermetric. It's actual statistics based. That 25%, there was nothing for Juan Soto there. No, 0 points. He's not getting any points from any statistical measure of a good right fielder. The other 75% is coaches and managers from all 30 teams. Up to 7, a manager and up to 6 coaches from each team vote on this. They're not allowed to vote for their own players, which means it's people who at most have seen like 12 or 13% of a player's games, because Dave Roberts, he's voting, okay, who's the best defensive player and defensive right fielder in the National League, and you can't vote for Mookie Betts. David Roberts is like, well, I saw Juan Soto several times. I don't know if Dave Roberts voted for Juan Soto. I assume not. It's like, by definition, it is the people who see them play almost the least. Every fan has more time to watch Juan Soto play right field than Dave Roberts does, because Dave Roberts is managing a baseball team every night. And then he goes to bed and trying to figure out how to win the next day. He's not even watching highlights on MLB Network. There's just not time to. And so it's a silly system. Luckily, it doesn't matter. It's not an important thing. Mookie Betts is a finalist. He's a 5-time Gold Glove winner. Hopefully he will be the winner again. I do believe he was the best defensive right fielder in the National League this year, and sometimes that matters in the Gold Glove voting. So that's the Dodgers' 2 finalists. In center field, Cody Bellinger is not a finalist. The 3 finalists are Trent Grisham, Victor Robles, and Alec Thomas. Uh, Alec Thomas is very good. Plays for the D-backs, great range. He's a guy I watch him play, and I get nervous about playing against him for the next several years. He's a very good defensive outfielder. Victor Robles for the Nationals, also very good. I think you could make a case that Cody should have been a finalist over either of those guys, but I don't think it's egregious that he's not. Trent Grisham. You guys know how I feel about Trent Grisham. I don't like Trent Grisham. I don't like his face. I don't like him. Hate to say it, but I think he's pretty clearly the best defensive center fielder in baseball. He is so good. And yeah, he's had a couple notable misplays, including the first time anybody ever heard his name when he was on the Brewers and he blew that play to cost them the wild card game against the Nationals in 2019. But Trent Grisham is a crazy good center fielder, and he should win the Gold Glove Award over Cody Bellinger, over Victor Robles, Alec Thomas, over anybody else. Trent Grisham deserves that award. And so it's hard for me to get too fired up about Bellinger not being a finalist for an award he doesn't deserve anyway. Will Smith wasn't a finalist at catcher, which isn't overly surprising. For one, Austin Barnes gets more playing time than a lot of backup catchers do. Smith played a lot of DH, and so that affects his overall stats. And his framing was a little bit worse than usual this year, still above average, but not as good as it's been in previous years. Smith is a solid defensive catcher. I don't think it's a snub. Freddie Freeman wasn't a finalist at first base, which I think Christian Walker is going to win that. He was very, very good this year. Christian Yelich was a finalist in left field. Christian Yelich is really bad too. It's not as egregious as Juan Soto, but having Christian Yelich and Juan Soto as finalists at the same time is kind of a damning comment on the voting of this award. But yeah, so I would guess Mookie's going to win. I don't have any idea if Tyler Anderson's going to win, and they are the only two finalists. So at most 2 Gold Gloves for the Dodgers, possibly 0, probably 1. That would be my guess. That's it for me today. Vince, like I said, there's a couple rumors over on ESPN.com about what the Dodgers might do this offseason. So Vince is going to come along, talk about those things. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. It really does mean a lot to us. So we'll talk to you on Monday, and Vince will be along in a minute.
Yo, Dodger fans. Vince here to close out the episode, and we're here to talk about a Dodgers potential free agent acquisition, somebody that maybe you haven't thought of, maybe you have thought of. One of the biggest names in baseball, and definitely the biggest name in baseball this past season, and that's Aaron Judge. And this all comes from an article from Mark Feinsand over at MLB. He's a guy, he's not quite Ken Rosenthal and John Heyman with the scoops, but yeah, scoops every once in a while. And he had an article about 8 possible landing spots for Trey Turner. And this is what he said about the Dodgers in that as being one of the 8 landing spots. He said, if Trey Turner's open to remain on the West Coast, the Dodgers would certainly make sense after he played the past year and a half in Los Angeles. That said, there's been a lot of talk the Dodgers are prepared to let Turner walk in order to make a big play for Aaron Judge, a scenario that would take the NOS champions out of play for the shortstop. And yeah, I mean, Jeff and I will probably talk about Trey Turner more in depth at some point here in the next couple weeks as the Dodgers, have to decide do they want to go after him in free agency, and we'll kind of discuss how bad should they go after him, what kind of money should they offer him, how many years, blah, 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 and everything else. But this is kind of the first real link, or at least the one that we've seen, to Aaron Judge to the Dodgers. And it's an interesting one. He's not necessarily a natural fit. Based on his age more so than anything. Mookie Betts is the right fielder. Aaron Judge can play center field, did play some center field this year. But realistically, with just how big he is, and he's a little bit on the older side in terms of baseball. I mean, that being he's going to be 31 next season. But, you with that size and everything else, it's a guy who you'd rather have in a corner spot. Now, he's never played left field in his major league career, but realistically, if you were to go after Aaron Judge, it would probably be to be in left field and or the DH. And the first question is, how much is it going to cost? The second question is, how many years would it take? And the third question is, okay, we know the Dodgers aren't going to give him, 6 to 8 years. what are they going to offer him, and are they going to try to blow him away with similar deals that they offered to Bryce Harper and other guys, where it's shorter contracts, bigger money, and if a guy like Aaron Judge, he's already turned down $200+ million from the Yankees. It seemed to be a good decision, as he had one of the best offensive seasons that we've seen, at least in our lifetimes, or just all of well, one of the best all time in the American League for sure, because he broke the American League record for home runs in a season. And yeah, the Aaron Judge experience is interesting. He's had 7 seasons now. One of them, 2016, he only played 27 games. That's when he came up as a rookie. So 6 full seasons, and in those 6 full seasons, he's played more than 140 games 3 times. His rookie year, where he led the league in runs, home runs, walks, and strikeouts. He finished first in Rookie of the Year, second in MVP. Was an All-Star that year. He played 148 games last year, 39 home runs, 98 RBI, a 916 OPS, a 149 OPS plus. And then you have this year, where he played 157 games, led the league in runs, home runs, RBI, walks, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS plus, total bases, and an OPS plus of 211, an OPS of over 1,000. And when you think about the Aaron Judge of this year, you think, oh yeah, that's someone the Dodgers should go after. When you think about big picture, he is a big guy, and we haven't really seen guys of his stature that play outfield that have lasted too long. Now, obviously, like I said, with the DH being in the National League, that's something the Dodgers could consider, of why they would want to take him. And with the age 30, I don't see them going more than 5 years. If they, 5 years would be even stretching it a little bit. Now, if you go 5 years at 50 mil a year, that's 5 years, 250 mil, and not that much more guaranteed money than he already turned down from the Yankees. And it's a matter of, okay, does he want, is he looking for a certain number? Is he looking for years, or is he looking for a certain number? And if it's, the certain number, then the Dodgers can try to work with him there. If it's the years, I don't know if the Dodgers will work with him. They already have Freddie Freeman on tap for the next 5 years. I have Mookie Betts for the significant future, and they'll have guys here and there that they may sign to extensions, or the guys that are younger that are still around for a few years guaranteed, anyways. So all that to say, should the Yankees go after Aaron Judge? And you think about Aaron Judge, and think about the Dodgers. If they go after a big name, and it's all in the world of October. Realistically, they're going to make the playoffs next year, whether wild card or winning the division again. Depending how the other teams in the division act, and it's more for October. And you go to October, and this was heading into or after the game 2 of the ALCS, where he almost hit a home run that would have put the Yankees in better position. And he's hitting 221 in 42 career postseason games, which doesn't sound great, but he does have an OPS of 804 in those 42 games, with 13 home runs and 25 RBI. So while he's not hitting at a high clip, for average, he is hitting for power, and he is, bringing in runs. And what we've seen with the Dodgers is that's something they struggle with. Now, is this something, to really consider? We saw him start this postseason going, I think, 0 for 8 with 8 strikeouts. So obviously, it's a different world, and getting the best players doesn't always guarantee you having the best postseason success. I mean, so far in this postseason, he did hit 2 home runs in that series against the Guardians, but he OPS 738, and then so far in the 2 games, he has 1 strikeout, but only just 1 hit in 8 at bats. And you put that all together, you put the whole package together, and it's like, because should the Dodgers go after Aaron Judge? Yes, they should be interested in Aaron Judge. They should be linked to Aaron Judge, and it's somebody that they could go after. And they can entrench him out there in left field or center field till his, if his body can't keep up, then he can move to left field or DH. And it's a matter of, is that something they should do? And it's a tough decision. You'd have to go look at defensive metrics. Yankee Stadium's a little bit smaller of an outfield. Dodger Stadium is a big outfield, but he would play in bigger outfields in San Diego, San Francisco, and in Colorado. And even in Chase Field, those are all bigger outfields, bigger stadiums, and he'd have to do a lot more running and a lot more defensive work. And that's what you first think of. But should they do it? Yes, they should. They should go after Aaron Judge, and I don't think they should go after Aaron Judge long term. I don't know if I trust the bat lasting 7 to 8 years, but if the 7 to 8 years is what you get them at a little bit lower annual average value, then the Dodgers can just eat that when it gets to that point. They've done it before, and they can probably continue to do it, and it's not going to hurt them. They have a crop of young guys coming up, and it's a matter of then it becomes a matter of Aaron Judge versus Trey Turner or one of the shortstops. And this year's free agency is very low on premium talent. There's the shortstops, Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, and I'm probably missing someone else. And then there's Aaron Judge, and then there's Jacob deGrom pitching wise. And other than that, there's not as much premium talent as years before. And as we've seen from the trade deadline and the trades of last year, the trade market is expensive right now, and it's hard to go get premium talent without giving up a lot of talent. And the Dodgers, while they still have one of the best farm systems in baseball right now, it's not as deep or it's not as guaranteed success as maybe we've thought about in the past. Corey Seager from the beginning was supposed to be a guy, and he ended up becoming a guy. Cody Bellinger turned himself into a guy, turned himself into an MVP. Now he might be on the way out. Gavin Lux has been a mixed bag so far. He had a good season overall, but, faded a little bit toward the end, and, no fault to him. A lot of people faded toward the end for the Dodgers, and they've had the reclamation projects and Chris Taylor and Max Muncy, who have also earned second contracts with the Dodgers and everything else. But it's one of those, if you can put Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman as your top three for the next 5 years, that's something that you got to consider. But the other part that you got to consider is, what the Dodgers have coming up. And realistically, they have Andy Pages, but he's still pretty young. Other than that, they don't really have any set outfielders coming up. James Outman is a guy, but is he a starting caliber quality guy? I don't know. If he is, he can be in center field, and Judge can still be in left field anyways. And then you got to think about, okay, at shortstop, do they trust Gavin Lux at shortstop moving over, making all those throws? Do they trust Jacob Amaya? Do they trust, they don't really have anyone else that's on the cusp of coming up at shortstop. Do they try to plug someone in there more defensive minded and go with the offense somewhere else? That's very possible. And it's tough to say yes, the Dodgers need to go after Aaron Judge, but it's also tough to say no, the Dodgers shouldn't go after Aaron Judge. So what do I think? I think the Dodgers should consider Aaron Judge, and knowing Andrew Friedman and being the caveat that they do it at their price. And I don't think they should give him more than 5 years. And if they want to up the money, they can go ahead and up the money. But I don't think they should give him more than 5 years. He can play outfield for another 2-3 more years. And if he doesn't handle it after that, he can move to DH. And the Dodgers, will probably have a bat that's still serviceable later on. Now, will he lose some of the power playing in, these different stadiums that I mentioned? NL West, a little more pitcher friendly. It's possible, but he's still a guy that hits doubles. He's still a guy that, hits the ball hard. And he's still a guy that can drive in runs. And that's something the Dodgers need. They haven't necessarily had, Cody Bellinger hit a lot of home runs in his MVP year, but they haven't really had guys that are power guys. And Aaron Judge is more than just a power hitter. I mean, he's a career 284 hitter, and that's no slouch. Career 977 OPS. He's a guy who is averaging 49 home runs a year over his career. So he's a guy that would change the dynamic of the Dodgers lineup, and it would maybe hurt them in some other areas. Like I said, shortstop, they might have to settle for somebody else or move Gavin Lux over there, which means second base opens up a little bit more for Max Muncy. So if they do bring back Justin Turner can play a little bit more DH. And then you got Miguel Vargas or Edwin Rios or somebody else that it opens up third base a little bit. They still have Michael Busch in the minors who could technically play second and first. So it opens up. Andrew Friedman said they want to take a look at some of these younger guys, but how you can take a look at some of these younger guys is getting some premium talent on the outside. If losing Trey Turner, that's losing a premium talent. That means you got to bring in another premium talent. You got to keep your lineup strong at the top. and lets everyone kind of fill in after that. And did that work this past season? Yes, in the regular season it did. In the postseason, not so much. But that wasn't for I don't think that was an organizational failure or a problem. I think the problem was that Mookie Betts didn't hit like he did and didn't contribute to that much. Trey Turner contributed a little bit, but also didn't contribute at other times when they needed him. Freddie Freeman contributed, but also didn't come through at other times when they needed him. And then the rest of the lineup obviously didn't come through when there was moments that presented themselves. So, Aaron Judge changes the dynamic of this lineup. It makes it more formidable. It makes it more formidable in a different way. But realistically, would I rather have Aaron Judge or Trey Turner's bat? I'd rather have Aaron Judge's bat. Trey Turner, good hitter, almost got 300, was the batting champion the year before, but I don't know how his game progresses or gets better. And if he's a guy that can chase a lot and does chase a lot, and he never really goes away from that, and he loses a little bit of bat speed as he gets older, he loses a little bit of foot speed as he gets older, and then you're looking at a shortstop who's not very elite defensively either. And then you're kind of looking at, oh man, we got this guy for like 3 more years, and he's kind of become run of the mill type of guy shortstop. So I think Aaron Judge gives you that premium talent, and I think he's going to be a premium talent for 3 to 5 years, which is what I think the Dodgers should give him. Now they can go to 8 years, spread the money out a little bit more, lower that AAV, that luxury tax hit, and still be able to get him. But I don't know if that's something he wants to do. The other part is there's not a lot of teams that can afford guys like this. It's going to be the Yankees that are in it. It's going to be the Giants that are probably in it. It's going to be the Dodgers that are in it. The other teams mentioned here were Phillies and Orioles and Braves and Red Sox and Cubs. And yeah, those teams can all do it. But, Aaron Judge also has to think about his career. And, going to the Cubs were a fun young team and they played pretty well down the stretch in the second half of the season. But are they going to be in the playoffs in the next 2 years? I don't know. Are the Giants, adding him to the Giants, does that get them in the playoffs the next 2 years? I don't know. The Phillies, the Phillies might be the one. Red Sox are always going to be pushing for a playoff spot or at least trying for it. So, yeah, that might be the other one. But they also have to sign Xander Bogaerts, and they also have to sign or try to sign Rafael Devers as well. So who knows if they have that long-term money. I think the Dodgers can take advantage of not that many suitors and that have the money, and they can offer them the shorter deal, more money, and put them, sit him number 2, number 3 in that lineup and go to work. And I think it's something that the Dodgers should consider. It's a premium talent who's proven himself, over the years, and who's proven himself in October in a little bit different capacity, not so much hitting, but more so hitting for power. And yeah, I'm not all in on Aaron Judge, but I do think the Dodgers should consider it. And I do think that it would be a good move, considering they get him on their terms and they don't, if you want to give Aaron Judge 300 mil, I don't know if I agree with that. But if you want to give Aaron Judge 2 to 250 mil for about 4 to 5 years, I'm on board with that and make it happen. And like Jeff said earlier in this episode, it's not our money. So go spend it, Dodgers. So yeah, that's all I got for Aaron Judge. We'll probably talk about this a little bit more or see how the rumors go once the Yankees are eliminated. They're down 2-0 right now, but they're going back to New York, so we'll see what happens there. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to check out Locked On MLB. He's got all the happenings and goings on from the postseason right now. He's got the #1 daily league-wide podcast, our pal Sully, over there. So go check him out. Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. That's also where you can find us. Search for Locked On Dodgers to find us in those spots. Search for Locked On Dodgers to find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vince Samperio. DMs are open on all those accounts to get a hold of us. DMs are also open, or emails are open, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or voicemail text open 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car. If you're at home, tell your smart device, play a podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.